could an 18-year-old commit such a horrific act? What drove him to target innocent children? This is the story of the Southport tragedy. Southport, a seemingly idyllic coastal town nestled along the Irish Sea, a place known for its Victorian architecture, its tranquil parks, and the gentle rhythm of its seaside promenades. A town where life, for the most part, unfolded with a comforting predictability. But on July 29, 2024, that predictability was shattered, replaced by a chilling wave of horror that would forever stain the town's collective memory. This is not just a story of a crime. It's a story of a community's innocence lost, a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most peaceful places. The location, a place that would become synonymous with this tragedy, was Hart Space. A community center, a hub of activity, a place where children came to dance, to express themselves, to find joy. On that fateful day, it was the venue for a Taylor Swift-themed dance class, a gathering of young, vibrant lives filled with the promise of laughter and music. Instead, it became a scene of unspeakable violence. To understand the gravity of what transpired, we must first understand Southport itself, a town that, despite its tourist appeal, maintains a strong sense of local identity. A place where generations of families have lived and worked, where the familiar faces of neighbors create a comforting sense of belonging. The shockwaves of this crime reverberated through every street, every home, because it violated the very essence of what Southport represented. The date, July 29, 2024, is now etched into the town's history. It was a day that began like any other, but quickly descended into chaos. The events that unfolded at Hart Space were not isolated acts of madness. They were the culmination of a series of factors, a confluence of circumstances that would ultimately lead to a tragedy that no one could have foreseen. In the coming minutes, we will delve into the timeline of events, tracing the steps that led to this horrific crime. We will examine the backgrounds of those involved, the victims, and the perpetrator, attempting to understand the motivations that drove such a devastating act. We will explore the investigation that followed, the painstaking work of law enforcement to piece together the fragments of a shattered reality, and we will consider the aftermath, the impact on the community, and the lasting legacy of this tragedy. This is not a story for the faint of heart. It is a story that demands our attention, not for the sake of sensationalism, but for the sake of understanding. For in understanding the darkness, we may find a glimmer of light, a way to prevent such tragedies from ever happening again. This is the story of Axel Rudakubana and the day Southport lost its innocence. The morning of July 29, 2024 began with an unremarkable quiet. Axel Rudakubana, an 18-year-old resident, left his home address at CCTV footage, later painstakingly reviewed by investigators, captured his movements. He walked, not ran, a seemingly casual pace towards the town center. There was nothing in his demeanor, according to those who briefly encountered him, that suggested the horror to come. He stopped at a local shop, purchasing some items, and seemingly mundane act that would later take on a chilling significance. He then continued his journey towards Hart Space. Meanwhile, at Hart Space, the atmosphere was one of youthful exuberance. The Taylor Swift-themed dance class was in full swing. Children were practicing routines, their laughter and excited chatter filling the air. The music, the familiar pop melodies of Taylor Swift, provided a backdrop of innocent joy. Parents, some watching from the sidelines, others dropping off their children, shared casual conversation, unaware of the impending catastrophe. The air was thick with the anticipation of a fun-filled session, a brief escape from the ordinary. At that time, Axel Rudakubana entered Hart Space. He moved with a deliberate purpose, a stark contrast to the carefree energy of the room. Witnesses later described a sense of unease, a feeling that something was profoundly wrong. He bypassed the reception area, heading directly towards the dance studio. And then the unthinkable happened. The precise sequence of events unfolded with terrifying speed. Without warning, Axel Rudakubana launched his attack. The screams of children, the frantic cries of parents replaced the music. Chaos erupted. The room moments before, filled with laughter, became a scene of terror. The details of the attack are harrowing, and I will not dwell on the most graphic elements. However, it is important to understand the sheer brutality of what occurred. Within minutes, the first emergency calls were made. The sound of sirens pierced the air, growing louder as police vehicles, ambulances, and fire trucks raced towards Hart Space. The first responders arrived to a scene of unimaginable horror. The sight of injured children, the sounds of their cries, the sheer panic of the situation was overwhelming. Police officers, paramedics, and firefighters worked tirelessly, their professionalism battling against the emotional impact of what they were witnessing. News of the attack spread rapidly. Social media platforms were flooded with reports, images, and videos. The town of Southport, and indeed the entire nation, was gripped by shock and disbelief. A sense of collective horror descended as the scale of the tragedy became clear. The quiet seaside town was now the epicenter of a national crisis, a place where innocence had been brutally shattered. In the wake of the horrifying events at Hart Space, we must pause and remember those whose lives were tragically cut short. 3 young souls whose potential and joy were stolen in an act of senseless violence. B.B. King, Elsie Stancomb, and Alice Da Silva Aguiar. Their names, now etched in the town's collective grief, deserve to be spoken with reverence, with respect. B.B. King, just 8 years old, was a bright spark, a whirlwind of energy. Her parents described her as a child who loved to dance, to sing, to create. Her laughter, they said, was infectious, filling any room she entered. She dreamed of being a dancer, of performing on a big stage. Her school teachers spoke of her kindness, her willingness to help others, her bright, inquisitive mind. In her short life, Bibi had touched the hearts of many, leaving an indelible mark on those who knew her. Her favorite color, she adored her pet, and she was always the first to volunteer for a hug. These small details, these fragments of her personality, are what her family clings to, the memories they will cherish forever. Elsie Stancomb, aged 10, was known for her gentle nature and her artistic talent. She loved to draw, to paint, to express herself through her creations. Her parents remember her as a thoughtful, sensitive child, always concerned for the well-being of others. She had a keen interest in animals, volunteering at a local shelter whenever she could. Her teachers recalled her quiet determination, her ability to focus and persevere. She loved to read fantasy novels and often created her own characters and stories. Elsie was a quiet observer, a deep thinker, a soul that radiated kindness. Her loss leaves a void that can never be filled. And then there was Alice Da Silva Aguiar, 7 years old, a vibrant, playful child with a zest for life. Her parents described her as a ray of sunshine, always smiling, always eager to explore the world around her. She loved to play with her friends, to ride her bike, to climb trees. Her energy was boundless, her curiosity insatiable. Her family remembers her love for her older brother and how she looked up to him. Alice loved to wear bright colors and was known for her silly jokes. Her loss is a devastating blow, a wound that will never fully heal. The impact statements from their families read during the sentencing were heart-wrenching. Words of grief, of anger, of disbelief filled the courtroom. Parents spoke of their shattered dreams, their stolen futures, the unbearable pain of losing a child. They spoke of the emptiness that now pervades their homes, the silence that echoes where laughter once rang. They spoke of the injustice of it all, the senselessness of a crime that took away their precious children. The emotional impact on the community was profound. Southport, a town that prided itself on its sense of community, was plunged into mourning. Vigils were held, flowers were laid, tears were shed. The townspeople rallied together, offering support and comfort to the grieving families, but the pain was palpable, the sense of loss overwhelming. The innocence of childhood, once taken for granted, was now forever tainted. The memory of Bibi, Elsie, and Alice will forever be a reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating consequences of violence. Their stories are a testament to the lives that were lost and a call to action to prevent such tragedies from ever happening again. The immediate aftermath of the attack saw law enforcement descend upon Hart Space. The scene was chaotic, a maelstrom of activity as police officers, paramedics, and forensic teams worked to secure the area and gather evidence. The initial response was swift and decisive. The priority was to ensure the safety of those present, to identify and apprehend the perpetrator, and to preserve the integrity of the crime scene. The initial investigation was a race against time. Every minute counted. The crime scene, now a tableau of horror, was meticulously documented. Photographs were taken, measurements were recorded, and every potential piece of evidence was collected. The forensic teams worked with painstaking precision, their expertise crucial in piecing together the events that had unfolded. Forensic evidence played a pivotal role in the investigation. The weapons used in the attack were recovered, their surfaces examined for fingerprints and DNA. Blood samples were collected, analyzed, and matched to the victims and the perpetrator. The pattern of blood spatter was studied, providing crucial insights into the sequence of events. The recovery of the ricin-related evidence was a shock. This added a level of complexity to the investigation that was not expected. The investigation quickly turned its focus to Axel Rudakubana. His identity was established and his movements leading up to the attack were traced. Investigators began to delve into his background, seeking to understand his motivations. One crucial piece of evidence emerged: the online purchase of the knives used in the attack. Records showed that Rudakubana had purchased the knives weeks prior, suggesting a premeditated act of violence. This discovery raised serious questions about his intentions and the planning involved. But it was Rudakubana's digital footprint that provided the most chilling insights. His online activity revealed a disturbing pattern of behavior. Investigators discovered a trail of radicalized content, including extremist propaganda and violent imagery. His search history revealed searches for bomb-making instructions and the Al-Qaeda training manual. This online activity pointed towards a deeply troubled individual, one who had been immersed in a world of violence and extremism. The discovery of his involvement with the Prevent program and his subsequent release became a crucial part of the investigation. The fact that he was flagged and then released caused a public outcry. The information gathered from his computer and phone showed a clear radicalization and a growing hatred. His online posts showed a clear intention to cause harm. The digital evidence painted a picture of a young man who had become increasingly isolated and radicalized. His online interactions, his search history, and his social media posts all pointed towards a descent into extremism. The investigation revealed a chilling timeline, a progression from online radicalization to real-world violence. The meticulous work of the investigators, their dedication to uncovering the truth, was crucial in bringing Axel Rudakubana to justice and in understanding the factors that led to this tragic event. Axel Rudakubana, the name now synonymous with the horrific events at Hart Space. To understand the tragedy, we must delve into the background of the perpetrator, seeking to unravel the threads that led to his devastating actions. Axel Rudakubana, was an 18-year-old resident of Southport. His background initially appeared unremarkable. He attended where he was described by some as quiet and withdrawn. However, beneath this seemingly ordinary facade, signs of a troubled individual began to emerge. There were reports of increasing isolation, of a withdrawal from social interactions. Some former classmates mentioned that he had become increasingly vocal about extremist views in online spaces, but these comments were dismissed as edgy teenage behavior. His online activity, as we've discussed, revealed a disturbing descent into radicalization. Investigators uncovered a trove of extremist content, including propaganda videos, violent imagery, and hate speech. The discovery of the Al-Qaeda training manual was particularly alarming, indicating a clear interest in violent extremism. His search history revealed queries related to bomb-making, weapons, and acts of terrorism. This wasn't simply idle curiosity, it was a deliberate exploration of violence. Analyzing Axel Rudakubana's motivations and mental state is a complex and challenging task. Experts suggest a combination of factors may have contributed to his actions. His isolation, his exposure to extremist ideologies, and potential underlying mental health issues likely played a role. It is important to remember that mental health and radicalization are not always directly connected, but in this case, a confluence of factors seems to have created a dangerous environment. His online posts showed a clear pattern of dehumanizing his intended victims and those he perceived as different from himself. The information regarding the PREVENT program is perhaps the most controversial aspect of this case. It was revealed that Axel Rudakubana had been flagged by the program, a government initiative designed to prevent radicalization. He had been identified as showing signs of potential extremism and had been enrolled in the program. However, despite this intervention, he was subsequently released, deemed to pose no immediate threat. This decision in hindsight raises serious questions about the effectiveness of the program and the assessment protocols used. The fact that someone flagged for potential extremism could carry out such a heinous act highlights the complexities of preventing radicalization. It underscores the need for more effective intervention strategies, better communication between agencies, and a deeper understanding of the factors that contribute to violent extremism. The case of Axel Rudakubana is a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked radicalization and the devastating consequences that can result when warning signs are missed or ignored. The legal proceedings that followed the horrific events at Hart Space were marked by a somber determination to deliver justice. The courtroom, usually a place of legal formality, was charged with an emotional intensity, a collective desire to hold Axel Rudakubana accountable for his actions. The prosecution presented a meticulously constructed case built upon the overwhelming evidence gathered during the investigation. Forensic evidence, witness testimonies, and the chilling digital footprint left by Rudakubana were all presented in stark detail. The online purchases, the extremist content, the Al-Qaeda training manual all served to paint a disturbing picture of a premeditated and ideologically driven act of violence. The legal proceedings that followed the horrific events at Hart Space were marked by a somber determination to deliver justice. The courtroom, usually a place of legal formality, was charged with an emotional intensity, a collective desire to hold Axel Rudakubana accountable for his actions. The prosecution presented a meticulously constructed case built upon the overwhelming evidence gathered during the investigation. Forensic evidence, witness testimonies, and the chilling digital footprint left by Rudakubana were all presented in stark detail. The online purchases, the extremist content, the Al-Qaeda training manual all served to paint a disturbing picture of a premeditated and ideologically driven act of violence. The defense, faced with the weight of this evidence, arguing that Rudakubana's mental state at the time of the attack was compromised. However, the prosecution countered with expert testimony asserting that while Rudakubana may have exhibited signs of mental instability, he was fully aware of his actions and their consequences. The trial, though emotionally charged, was conducted with a sense of legal precision. The jury, after deliberating for hours. The sentencing phase followed, a moment of profound gravity. Judge, in a statement that resonated with the town of Southport, delivered the sentence. The judge spoke of the heinous nature of the crime, the devastating impact on the victims and their families, and the profound breach of public safety. The judge stated, "Need for justice." Axel Rudakubana was sentenced to 52 years. Following the sentencing, the Attorney General addressed the media. The Attorney General emphasized the government's commitment to combating extremism and protecting the public. They stated against violence and the need for preventative measures. The Attorney General's statement also addressed the concerns regarding the PREVENT program and promised a review of the program's effectiveness. Axel Rudakubana is currently serving his sentence. Information regarding his specific prison conditions is subject to security protocols, but it is known that he is held in facility. His location is monitored, and actions are taken to ensure he does not have contact with others that may become radicalized by his presence. Given the nature of his crimes and the potential for him to influence others, he is being kept away from the general population. Due to the high-profile nature of the case, his location will be a constant point of monitoring. In the aftermath of the trial and sentencing, we are left to grapple with the complex question of why. What factors contributed to the horrific actions of Axel Rudakubana, and what lessons can we learn to prevent such tragedies in the future? The analysis of this case reveals a confluence of contributing factors. Rudakubana's isolation, his immersion in extremist online communities, and potential underlying mental health issues all played a role. His online radicalization was a key element, exposing him to violent ideologies and providing a platform for him to connect with like-minded individuals. The echo chambers of online extremism can amplify existing vulnerabilities, creating a dangerous breeding ground for violence. The effectiveness of preventative measures, particularly the PREVENT program, has come under intense scrutiny. While the program aims to identify and intervene with individuals at risk of radicalization, the case of Axel Rudakubana highlights its limitations. The fact that he was flagged and enrolled in the program, yet still able to carry out his attack, raises serious questions about the program's assessment protocols and intervention strategies. There is a clear need for a more nuanced and comprehensive approach to preventing radicalization, one that addresses the complex interplay of online and offline factors. There must be a system to monitor those that have been flagged even after release. The social impact of this crime has been profound. The town of Southport, once a symbol of tranquility, now bears the scars of a devastating tragedy. The loss of B.B. King, Elsie Stankham, and Alice Da Silva Aguirre has left an indelible mark on the community, shattering the sense of safety and security. The grief and trauma experienced by the victims' families, friends, and the wider community will endure for years to come. This crime has also sparked a broader national conversation about the dangers of online extremism, the effectiveness of counterterrorism measures, and the need for greater mental health support. The case of Axel Rudakubana serves as a stark reminder of the challenges we face in a digital age where radical ideologies can spread rapidly and anonymously. It underscores the importance of fostering resilience within communities, promoting critical thinking skills, and addressing the root causes of extremism. Furthermore, this case has highlighted the vulnerability of young people to online manipulation. The speed at which radicalization can occur online is alarming, and the impact it can have on impressionable minds is devastating. There is a need for greater awareness, education, and intervention strategies to protect young people from the dangers of online extremism. Ultimately, the analysis of this case must lead to action. We must learn from the mistakes that were made, strengthen our preventative measures, and work together to build a society that is more resilient to the forces of extremism. The memory of BB, Elsie, and Alice demands nothing less. As we conclude this exploration of the tragic events surrounding Axel Rudakubana and the Southport tragedy, we are left with a heavy sense of reflection. This story, while deeply disturbing, serves as a crucial reminder of the complexities surrounding radicalization, mental health, and the impact of online extremism. We encourage you, our viewers, to engage in respectful and thoughtful discussion in the comments section below. Share your perspectives, your insights, and your thoughts on this case. It's important to remember that this is a sensitive topic, and we ask that all comments be made with respect for the victims and their families. If you found this video informative and thought-provoking, please consider subscribing to our channel for more in-depth true crime stories. We delve into complex cases, exploring the motivations behind criminal behavior and the impact on communities. You can also find links to our other videos on the end screen, where we investigate other cases that raise important questions about society and justice. We have also provided links to relevant mental health and radicalization prevention resources in the description below. If you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out for help. Thank you for watching. Your engagement and support are invaluable to us as we strive to bring you thoughtful and responsible coverage of true crime stories. We hope that by sharing these stories, we can contribute to a greater understanding of the complex issues that shape our world and perhaps play a small part in preventing future tragedies. We will continue to follow this case and provide any updates as they become available. Thank you.